He's practicing.
It don't matter, Billy.
Hey, you know what he told
all
me?
you want as long as you get
Where
one
did
of
you
them.
hit
Bill, did you notice when he was practicing, he always shot the first
That little one
line,
waited,
and
you
the
know,
next
until
arrow,
my
he's ready
Jesus,
to
when
go.
that big one came in.
What happened said? He
She'd
said
been
you'll
out there
never
all
get 2
night.
shots.
I'd been
He
watching
said
her
it
for
could be deadly if you
couple of
do.
chances where
Well, Bill,
Latest shot,
remember when we
you know,
set that tree seat up though?
shit on it, I'm gonna
He
wait
got
till
up
I
in
get
the
a
seat
decent
there,
shot
and
at
he
that
just
bear.
punched that out of
I don't want her, you know.
piece of
She's a
a
real
steak package.
deep
That
chocolate
purple,
brown.
that pink thing.
She had 2 chocolate
He
brown,
just punched
brown
holes right
cubs
into that thing.
and one
You were right
solid
on when
black
you.
son.
Well, you know, I
Same size?
did not.
No.
see-
That
At
one
the
is
site,
nice.
I did not
almost
see
shot
the
that
site.
black
I
one.
didn't see anything.
The 2 are the same size. The 2 chocolate
one
ones
big
are the
black
same
blob
size
right here.
bears, and they're
Good black, it was brown.
50, 60
brown,
pounds.
sorry.
Maybe.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Ugly
Yeah,
though.
I would say 50, 60 pounds.
Why,
Like a
what
big
way,
dog,
you mean?
Ragged length.
And the other
I
one
would say.
What?
coming along,
Ragged
I
length.
shot it on the spot.
Length.
So it's a nice bear.
Get him tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a
okay
nice
for a
bear.
first bear,
Nothing
guy.
wrong with that third bear.
Good
But
size,
that she
fairly good
makes it
size.
look like a dwarf, you know.
You know, what do you
What's
say?
the pelt look like on it?
I-
Did you
what do I have
see
to
it?
do?
I
I've
saw
seen another one
her
in the
ass, her
woods like
front,
that.
and
Oh.
both sides.
How high is
Before
it?
it was
I
all
would say
over.
it was
There
probably
no
twice
rough
the
spot.
size of the
Looks
bear.
like she got hair on her that long.
In the cap here?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
Big head on her.
Oh,
Big, big
where's
round, looks like head.
Must be at least that wide.
Got them
Does that make you a
about
little
22
worried
inches
or-
between the eyes.
Don's
Because they
like
have a habit of shrinking over
22 and 9/16 between the eyes.
22 inches between the eyes.
They got a long ways to go down. Don's got a long ways to go down and pick them up. He's got a
But that
long-
kept me entertained from quarter after
You
7.
don't get
till
cold when there's
9:30.
bears wandering all over, do you?
Shit, they were just coming in and out of there, you know, and them pot, look at them little ones coming in, you know, and they really could smell me. But that bait was just too much for me. Just couldn't stand it, you know, not to come in there. And that middle-sized one, he
Well,
was the
first
first
bears
one to
don't
get a
come
piece
get
of
that
bait. And he took a piece of bait right out of that dang bag. And the other 2 put their nose in the air and took off. Twice they were in there and never touched that bait.
You know what happened to one of those cubs that
Get up in that
she
tree.
What
came
happened
in?
in your deal now? We didn't hear
Well,
your deal. I didn't hear you yet.
The sow come in with 2 cubs. They come over about 50 yards away and stood the
2-2, huh?
Yeah, two chocolate brown ones.
What's
She's
your
a
deal?
chocolate brown. And she sat by this tree, and these 2 cubs went away up this tree, and they went away up. I'm not kidding you. And then they were playing around there, digging around, and they actually walk on the bloody branches. I never seen anything like it. One little brave bugger, he'd walk out, and he was sniffing up there. And finally, one come down, and the other one, you know what it did? I've never seen it. It just draped itself over a big limb, and let all 4 legs down and put his head down and went to sleep for half an hour. Just hung there in the tree, and he was up 25 feet. I'm not kidding you. The sow sat right down, and she lay down and go to sleep. She came in at about 5 after 8. And boy, then the one cub, they come down and they walk about 10 feet from the sow towards the beak and come back. Did it several times.
Sow wouldn't come in at all.
No, that one was still sleeping up there. She never left the tree. But then she turned around and she looked up the tree, and I couldn't hear nothing.
Yeah.
Comes his head, and down he comes, you know. Then they made a circle around, and the one cub come in. And it was, I've never seen, usually cubs are just going on the bed. Jesus, just go up to a big, up a tree. You know, come down,
Scared.
walk up, up another tree, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Like a
wind
bunch
was
of rabbits.
swirling in there, I think. See?
Yeah.
The one cub never did come in. Then the sow come in. She come around a big tree, and she was standing there against the tree facing me. I damn near shot at her because she had a big chest there and a big white patch, just like a spot to shoot at, you know.
Like a target, huh?
Yeah. And I thought, oh, Jesus, too much bone in that area. And I waited, and that cub was out in front. All of a sudden, it took something scared it, and it ran and smacked right into that cub, and damn near the sow knocked it over, jumped on its back, and up the tree.
Is that all right?
I said, Jesus, you know,
Talk
it was
about a
good
bunch
light.
of
You could have.
excited bear. Jeez, huh?
Then she
Isn't it
came
something?
around and just from that tree, and then she turned broadside. She's only 15 yards. And that tree seat, I fucking near fall off of it when I sit off the edge of the pole, you know. And she heard some little thing, because just when I got back there, she took off running. I finished the draw and got her right high in the back of both center. But it's
Well,
down.
yeah, but she's going moving out, huh?
Yeah, she was
Should have
going,
been the arrow moving forward. That's it.
Yeah.
Should be a goodie.
Yeah.
but it made
Really
two
clean it.
cracks. And
You
it was
see,
right up to the
did the arrow
feathers,
go-
so I think
oh,
it
it was
broke
up to the
ribs
feathers.
going in and out.
Yeah.
Huh?
Up to the feathers.
Well, it was
That's
about
really
that
good
much
shot.
from the
And
feathers.
you had arrows sticking out both sides.
Yeah, I
That
couldn't
should
see
be
the
a
other
good
part
shot.
side because she run like
You're gonna
this.
rip it open pretty good.
That should be a good shot. I think my arrow's sticking right in the ground. I think it just went through it like it wasn't there. Bap! You
Geez, I
know.
hope you got
Wasn't
lots
a
of
good
film
shot.
there tomorrow, Bill.
Oh, we've got plenty of film.
I think I'm gonna go to town on Wednesday. Not tomorrow.
You guys want to eat before everybody gets back? You want to hear all the stories first? Have a few drinks.
Oh,
wait.
yeah, story.
Let's
wait.
Have a few drinks.
What's drinks?
Anybody that
Oh, hell.
anybody
What a
that's
night.
hungry, though, if you're hungry, you hungry, Bill? It'd be hard to help yourself, guy.
Well, it didn't fall on me. It just
You need to have a
just
second help
about
him
fell
over
on me.
there.
I'll tell you, that's
You
tree,
see,
they're all in
you know,
little circles.
One beside it is
I get up
all
there.
over the place.
He put the stand up for me yesterday, and I get up in the thing and drew the bow back, and couldn't get the bow
That
lower
orange one
down
is-
low
is
enough.
loose
Hitting
there.
on the tree or the hitting on the stand. Couldn't get it low enough to shoot at the bait. The bait was too close.
Oh, I see.
So he moved the bait
Going
back.
like that, you know, okay, oh, you moved the bait back.
He moved the bait back. When he did, he cut off a couple trees there. There's one about that
Yeah,
big,
they really
a big
eat your
old
shoes.
birch or a scrub oak or whatever you call it. What do they call it?
Part of the eyes.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a nightclub or
Yeah,
something.
they like
or-
I'd like a piece hat, please.
Quakey.
Well, you just said it in time.
I try hard.
Half or something, that's right there.
We chopped the thing off, and he tried to
Yeah.
push it over, wouldn't push over. He chopped the damn thing and grabbed the hold of it, moved it about 3 or 4 feet over and set it down on the ground, and pushed it. The goddamn thing was leaning away from the tree stand about like this. Now that bait is about 15 yards from maybe 12, 15.
Leaning on another tree.
Yeah, he
We
pushed
got all
it down,
kinds of-
he couldn't get it down
Oh, I
through, so he
see,
just
yeah,
left
yeah,
it,
yeah,
see?
right, yeah.
So now the base of it's about 15 yards, 12, 15 yards from my tree. I got up in that son of a bitch tonight. That tree was moving, Gary, that tree was moving 1.5 feet tonight in the wind.
Twice I grabbed a hold
when I
of my
got
chair
up
like this.
It's like
from
shooting
both
ducks
ends.
in a
I
layout
was gonna
boat.
go right out of that tree.
And I hung the bow up and it's hanging on this hand. I turned it, hanging my coat up with the other hand. And it was
Yeah.
swaying and I seen out of the corner of my eye something, and I turned and that goddamn, the wind had grabbed that thing and blown it right straight back into the tree. In the top of the tree, come right down through. You know, it went like that and it didn't hit me in the face or anything. It went right down between my legs and it's still laying there. I come down out of that tree about as fast as, well, twice as fast as I went up. I sat at the bottom of the tree all night.
You must have just got in the tree when that sucker
Is there
come
still one of
in.
those good tree seats around?
I had a good
ours?
time.
Yeah, there's one over there.
Stories
One of mine.
like
Yeah,
the skin book I
those
brought with me.
bicycle seat, tree seats.
Oh,
there.
you take one of mine. That's one of the ones we make.
Oh, you gotta fix that one I'm in. That's noisy. You gotta.
Oh,
Hey,
that
you know what,
can't do it,
Gary?
that's
All you
something.
have to do is spread that apart that far.
Yeah.
You know, it's just right together. If you step on it,
You can't move on that. You don't
now
dare
you
move
shut a
on it.
bear out of it.
Yeah, but didn't dare
They
move.
complained. Didn't dare move. Picky, for Christ's sake.
I'll tell you, I had a good position because I stood up and I put my knee in the top of the seat like that.
Well, you stood up and shot.
Oh yeah. Well, I was standing there when they came in. When the first cub I saw it, I stood up, put my knee on top of that. So
I
was
need
nice
a
and
4x4
relaxed.
platform.
I think you better take him over languages.
And then he's got
4x4
then you got
platform.
about a 12x12 platform.
Yeah, there you go.
You can go to sleep on that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
It's
mattress
not
and
really,
killer
but
TV up there and everything.
You go up on that
As
side,
long
you
as
go out there
there's
and get on
wine
that
and
thing
running
first thing in the
water
morning,
and
come give me
cheese
about
and
the
bread,
end of the
He's
it's
week.
about
business.
6 by 8. It's about 6 by 8. He can walk all over the place on it. It's got 2 seats on it. You take a, shoot from this seat.
Hey, bear
shoot
down
from
there.
that seat. It's been hit.
Anybody in there?
No, that's
No,
my
he's
spot.
got
a ways
Nobody
away.
else can go in there.
Nobody else.
No. I gotta go through this farmyard. See, and
He'll have to go with you because
nobody else
there's
will
no
go.
guy can
Nobody
go in
else.
there besides
He's
Jared.
got, that's my spot for him and no other hunters. Yeah, I mean, unless I take him in. No
I'll
other
go down
hunters
to
are
your
allowed to
spot.
go in
Shoot
there.
that big black one that's coming in there.
I'm gonna shoot a bear somewhere. It don't really matter to me where you put me. I'm gonna kill one anyway.
Well, we may not. We'll see what happens on that tomorrow. I want to be in when all the bears come in, so I don't know. Oh, goddamn way I'm going to take off the town too early. Because I may have to cut down a
Gary, you
forest.
know what I had a
Forest or
suggestion
two.
when I was sitting at the tree for you tomorrow?
Suggestion? Did you holler at me?
No, but I had a suggestion made up and maybe it would be a good time. If you wait until about 2 o'clock and take the 2 guys with you, take them to town, pick up your groceries, or 3 o'clock, and get what you have to get, and then on the way back, bait it on the way in, throw a bag of bait on the way in at each place, and then about 5 o'clock motor out there and sit until, it takes them half an hour or so to get out there from town,
Could do that. Yeah.
and then come back.
I can do that. Yeah.
Bob wants to go to town, see Nick one. And we'll see how the rest of the guys are making out, and maybe if somebody's sitting on something that they think is cold, they can go sit on
Yeah, I
the
got a
edge.
cool spot.
Nothing come in there, did it?
Here comes the last
Somebody.
I'll bet you Dennis has got a story.
Just wait till it's
How many did you see tonight, Fred?
first evening, you know. Huh?
How many did you see tonight?
I saw a beautiful sow and a yearling. She'd go easy 350. She was round and black and shit, what the goddamn thing wrong with her?
Did you shoot her?
She came in at 8:15 and left at 9:45. The 2 of them. Had them out there all the time.
You didn't shoot it?
No, goddamn.
You want a big one?
This is the first evening.
The first evening. Don't let Bob know where you're sitting. I think it was
Yeah, Hap had 4 in there. 4 of them.
You get a good one? Huh? Big one?
Got down.
How big?
Noise and stuff around the bottom of the tree, so nothing.
That's standing up on
22
mine.
inches between the eyes.
Well, gee, the hell with it. I'm
You
gonna
remind me
I
of
got the biggest out of the 4, let's put it that way.
Well, Denny, you shot the biggest out of the 4. It's only been 150 pounds.
Is that right?
That's what's in
I had a
there.
couple, I had
Did you boot her out?
4 of them in there at the same time. Chris, I covered up with that big
It would
sow
go.
kept out there
For a half hour.
2 hours.
And the little cubs go up the tree?
She finally came on.
Oh, she said you're sitting there.
She ate all the meat scraps and she'd turn around, she'd look at me and she'd nose in the air like that.
Did you go dead on
At least you all seen bears tonight.
Oh, right. Do you see some?
Well, I'm probably the only guy that didn't see anything.
Did you shoot a bear?
Sorry.
That plug down there.
Who did this happen?
Hap and
Hap.
Bill.
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 Bill shot a damn bear tonight.
Bill. Where the hell's your bear?
Shot him twice.
It's out in the swamp. So I shot
We're
at
good.
it twice. I
Yeah.
only shot it once.
Shot over its back one time and it come back in, he shot it that time.
He's good in the rage.
Well, congratulations. Have you got it? Have you
No,
seen it?
tomorrow morning we're gonna shake hands tomorrow morning.
No money exchanges hands.
No, not tonight.
Gotta find her.
Well, did you guys take your time?
Forgot about that.
What time is yours?
I've been beat. 8:40.
8:40.
What time was yours, Hap?
Mine was about.
What time was yours?
9.
Well, I started at 7, we wound up at 20 to 10.
No, but what time did you shoot it?
20 to 10.
About 20 to
He
10.
started at 7. The bears are coming in at 7, and he
Yeah.
finished off at 20 to 10.
Sow never did come in till 20 to 10.
And,
Is that right?
what time is yours, Gary?
He's seen it 2 or 3 times. Just back.
Quarter to 9.
Did you see coffee?
Yeah, we'll have to do some skinning in the morning.
I hope.
I hope so too.
You didn't see anything, Bob.
Sorry, Joy.
When do you have anything
Well,
happen?
you talk
Buffalo.
No, I didn't either.
Smart enough.
You didn't have any.
Talk about a bunch of skitterish goddamn bears.
Were they skittish?
Quail out there, you know. And my doggone scent was blowing right into
Not
that.
a thing. And then they hear it.
First time they come in,
Still, you know,
I saw one coming and I looked behind, there's another one, and I could see one over the other side of the tree screwing around. And these two chocolate brown ones came in. About that high, maybe 50, 60 pounds. Yeah, just like that guy. So they came in, and then this one come across the tree, come under the tree. And
I put bait. No,
it was great.
yeah, it was like
Not a
that.
great big one. It must have been a 2 or 3 year old black one. I was going to shoot that son, but down the corner of my eye, I seen this huge blob back in the woods.
You a
there,
box
you know.
in there. That's empty.
So I didn't draw on them, and they all stuck their nose in the air at the same time. They're all looking in the trees and smelling, and they all just lit out. And I thought, oh shit.
Well, you know where you eat pork.
The next time they came in was about 45 minutes later. And this time the big one came first. There's a tree laying a jack pine across in front of me there. And
You want a pencil?
I got one for the second.
Ray Adams.
Don't feel bad about making coffee and
there's a
forget
jack
to
pine
put the
laying there.
coffee
See,
in
and
Jerry.
there's a little opening where these about 3 feet wide where these things are coming over the top. One of them would come underneath one and go over the top each time. And this big thing just walked up there in that opening. In a broadside, you know, but only the shoulder. And right where I wanted to shoot behind the shoulder was a limb about that big around. I knew I'd stick it right in the center.
How far away
So,
were you?
oh, 25 yards over on that side. So I waited, you know. And this time the 3 came into the bait, and the bad black one, the middle sized one, took a
That's
chunk
pretty
out.
good out of
The other
what, 9
2 put their
guys?
nose in the air. Those 2 little chocolate ones, they all took off again. You know. And he just took over on the other side of the tree and went by a big pine over there, about 30 yards away, and she was standing there. She took that guy meat away.
9 guys.
And he started eating it. She walked up there and she took that meat and was eating
Dawn and I and you, 3 of us.
And they all came back in again, and this
So
time all
6.
3 of them took
6
it.
seats.
You know,
Oh, that's right.
and they ran away with it. 30 and she's standing behind that tree.
So out of 8 guys.
To snatch up a piece.
Come in there and sneak
5 and 3.
grab it, zip out. And this time all 3 of them came in. The last
For the
time
first
they
night, it
stayed.
wasn't even a bear night.
She was on the other side of that tree. And I guess it got to the point where she couldn't stand any longer. They were laying on the meat then. She come running around. All of a sudden she just broke and run around the side and come right up the other side of that tree because she's too big to go over the goddamn thing. She run right up broadside there. And I drew as she was coming in, you know, and I was waiting and she stuck her head in the goddamn bag looking for a big piece, I guess. And a goddamn cub was the cub was standing right there, and I'd have got one in the ass and one in the heart if I'd have shot. So I had to wait, and just as I was holding there waiting, this goddamn truck went on the road. Just creeping. I heard the truck, the little one.
You mean your pickup truck?
Yeah, here comes Ray. And I heard the truck coming, and the little brown one took a couple of steps forward. She had her head in the bag yet when I shot. It looked like it, right where I wanted, maybe 4 inches behind the heart. I was shooting, you know, a little bit back, but it wasn't no big shot. So it's low, down by the heart. So it might be all right. Might be all right.
And have seen 4 that
Yeah, all
the spread team bears that 14.
14 bear. Yeah, we're counting your one.
Counting yours, Bill.
That's pretty good. That's 14 bear.
14?
We seen tonight, yeah.
Well, that's a hell of a deal.
You gotta come to Saskatchewan to see bears.
Hey, Fred, and that's not even a bear night tonight.
I know, it's
Last night.
terrible.
If this would have been like last night, Sunday night, it would have been like last night. Oh, geez, that's bearing all over.
Probably could have cut that.
Coming out your ears.
Oh, shit, I had bear covered me up.
I rattled a fart off that board. I was sitting on
You did. Hope it doesn't rain tonight.
And I'll tell you, she looked up, but she didn't pay as much attention to that as she would that.
Bear.
Yeah.
Fred, you better let
I
one
let-
of these novices go in there and shoot that butter.
I let a real big fart right on the, sitting on that board, you know, I kind of around. She looked up.
Was it at the sound or the smell? She looked up.
Well, I was, Bob knocked me out of a tree when the wind was right. Yeah, she just looked up there momentarily and went back eating. I go like that. That was different. Yeah.
You can cough.
But here,
They don't even look up.
this Ray's, Don's truck is a little noisy, you know.
Oh, yeah.
One noise.
And I waited. He came through at 9:45 because I wanted him to chase him out rather than let them know I'm up in the tree. See?
Right.
So he came around it, and I heard that rattle 3 times before that sound here.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, this, they didn't.
What you eat or anything?
Oh no, she didn't.
Coming either.
She was just eating there, laying there.
I think it's the coffee pot.
Third time I heard it, third rattle.
Then she took off?
No, that's out now.
Not immediately. She stood there at attention,
Yeah.
and when he got close to her, I guess she probably saw him. Oh yes, and they're gone.
Yeah, it's a coffee pot.
Redwood, rocks, that doesn't matter.
It's an old beauty.
Yes,
It's an
on the
outlaw
right
cause.
side, looking north on the right side. Yeah.
That much sticking out.
But they didn't come in the bait. When they come in, walked across.
What'd you have? What'd you have? 1 or 2?
They're gone for 3 or 4 minutes. Then they came right around and ran.
Ran into the
They ran into the bait. They never even looked at it. They ran across the other side of that clearing, went into the brush the other side. And they were outside for 3 or 4 minutes, and the first thing I know, here they come down around, right into the bait.
Well, they probably heard that there's a guy that couldn't shoot very good in there, and they weren't worried.
That's about it. Yeah, that's about it.
Was it a kid or a year-old or yearling?
About size this one out
Or?
here.
Yeah.
He's blacker than hell. Both of them coal black. Jesus, her fur, there wasn't the one bit of it sticking out. Just so rounded, and she was just as round as she was deep. And she had a nice head on her.
And she's ate about 500 pounds of meat.
Yeah, I guess so.
Bloody nervous. I waited for so long for it, and when I came in, it was pitching the earth.
Good shape.
But
You probably know just how
she
much
smelled
they
me a
have
great
on
many
there.
times. Oh, a great many times. She'd put her nose up in the air.
6,000 pounds of meat.
You know, when they're doing that.
Since when did they go?
But it never ran her out of there.
I guess maybe the bait was too strong.
Oh no, that makes no difference.
I'll
I'll tell you a story about that sometime.
Yeah, I'd like to hear that.
Wow. It was up in Alaska.
You hear, listen to this. This is a good story.
Well,
This is about when the bear.
Ray just said maybe the bear didn't smell me because the bait stank. So, and I said no. This was in Alaska in 1959. We had a camp up there. We didn't have any guides or anything. We just went in, hired an outfitter to fly us in. Made an airstrip. We used a gravel bar along the river and rolled some rocks out and cut some willows. It was 400 feet long. You had to drag your wheels through the willows coming in there, I'll tell you. Well, anyhow, there were some hunters up about 3 miles up the river, and they gut shot a caribou, and it died on the hillside back to camp. And a beautiful sow grizzly and a little wee cub found it. And we watched it, and we photographed it. They were about, there's a little creek came down, and there was a finger of spruce followed. We dropped that spruce, and we were about 200 yards away from it. We shot a lot of pictures, and this time, this caribou had been up there for about 10 days, and it was warm. And she had opened up the inside, and she was eating things. And at one time, she reached down in there for a whole mouthful of goodies. Looked like spaghetti hanging out of her mouth. And you can imagine the stench. 10 days in the warm sun up the hillside. With that mouthful of guts, right over the stinking carcass, she winded us and took off. And she never came out in the daytime after that. She ate it up, but she never came out in the daytime.
Well, Fred, when you hunt grizzlies, do you bait them?
Most of the time, yeah.
You can.
Can't beat a bear in BC.
You can't now. No, we could then.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm talking about 10, 12 years ago.
But they'll take bait the same as a black bear. I thought they
Well, we always use horses. That's the only bait you've got, you know. And you take an old horse in. We used to buy an old horse for 30, 40 bucks. Take him in there and
Right, and then he bought you.
Right, and then
No,
well, I wasn't going to tell that.
Make him work before he dies.
Well, you pick a real good spot. You're trying to find a spot where the wind direction is pretty uniform, pretty constant. And a place where you can... I only did this to get pictures.
Right, yeah.
God, you can take 10 guys from New York in. How are you going to get them close to a grizzly bear? That's the only way. And you shoot the bear and build a platform. But it takes about 10 days on the average for a bear to hit a bait like that. It's got to get real ripe. Now this baiting you're doing is different. You got a different thing here. And you don't throw much of a scent in the air, really. But with a horse, after you've been lying out there, if the weather isn't too cool, they can throw off a scent. It goes one hell of a way.
We used to use barrels of pigs, dead pigs, you know, little piglets and that. And we get them in February, it's freezing, you know. And then in about April, we'd take a whole load of them up here, and they had those, that's one of the barrels right there.
You seen one.
Had the lids on them with a ring with a bolt.
Yeah.
And you take an axe, and you had an old axe there because you didn't have,
lid on
you
it.
couldn't stand by that while you took it off with a
Mhm.
wrench. Eh?
Okay.
And you take an axe and hit that, and that was some of our best beats.
Oh, you guys didn't know that for a while.
Okay. That's what I'm
You
saying.
hit it with an axe and get
You
out
got a
of
fresh bait here, and it's not pulling them in from far.
That's right,
Yeah.
yeah. That is right.
But Fred, one year,
Tomorrow we're going to sweeten all those things up because we've got about 10 real good boxes of stuff. Real right stuff.
Yeah.
and I hauled
That
it out
bag
in
that you had was pretty
Yeah,
nice.
when I opened
Is anybody hungry?
mine, you know, big cut cheese with it.
Don't eat cheese with that. That's
Till I
nice. I called the mine last night because I opened it right down.
They lick up with me.
Don't have a drink with beer.
Maybe this could be.
You know, you have a drink and relax.
Never drink that.
Well, I'll put it out. Anybody wants
There's no wine, right?
lots of bread.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right, yeah.
Four bears happen.
You know, and then see about Wednesday, you know, you
There's
see
three
the
more
few,
there.
and,
I'd say probably twice the size.
Three's not bad.
But the one is
that'll be about 3 years.
One
The other one is
You see the one?
Yeah, they both
No,
potato
just
chocolate.
You see
last
that?
year's cup.
You see the height on the berries?
Nice.
Anybody ready to eat?
Yeah, I'd say it's
I'm going to put some of this stuff in there.
So you shot that way.
Yeah,
Right, I would say. Because they were right together.
I think you can bait, but
Well, they're not, they're 50, 60 pounds. Yeah, they're They're about like this in the, you were sleeping with last night. Just about that size, the other one's about half again. Oh, there's more there.
At least you have some entertainment anyways tonight, eh?
Oh, geez, I had a ball. God damn, really.
And when you went like that, you looked right up, eh?
Oh, yeah. Watch them things quick. I've been entertained.
You did that 3 times.
Oh, I did that number of times. I made all kinds of things. I take my finger like that
I like it when you
across that
entertain.
board.
It ain't all
Just
over.
about that much.
Coming back.
Even with that wind,
7 o'clock.
The wind wasn't too bad.
is that right? Oh, well,
See,
we
this
were-
was late in the evening.
Yeah.
Well, from 8:15 they came in. They left at
Fred, are
9:45.
you ready to eat? You're going to finish your beer? Or?
Yeah, I'll drink it with my whatever I'm eating.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I was gonna put that on plate.
All of those, those runs I knew looked there. Because I looked at them. I had all kinds of opportunities to look at those bears. That's the only thing.
Who's recorded? Is that yours?
We're out there
Yeah,
every
it's
morning.
Gary's.
Yeah, what's that thing in there?
Dill.
Huh?
Dill.
Dill pickle.
Dill. Or still.
Country, and we don't have duck. We're not on a flyway. Get a few local ducks. That's all. But he hunted ducks with his dad. His dad had died, but a Brittany Spaniel had survived the dad, and Dick had the dog. Well, there's a Boy Scout camp on Grass Lake out a little ways out of town. And we'd been pretty good to the Boy Scouts, and I got to know the manager out there, and he said they didn't allow any hunting, but he said if I wanted I could build a blind out there and do some duck hunting. Well, I got a hold of Dick, and I said, Dick, I got you cleared to build a blind out there. Well, he felt a little obligated to me, and he invited me duck hunting one morning. And we got up before daylight, and we drove out there. Did a blind on a point in the middle of this lake. A boat pulled up in the brush full of decoys, and had this dog. Well, the dog can't see so well. He'll bring a duck in, but he carries a pocket full of rocks, and he keeps throwing them ahead of the dog, and when he gets about 10 feet from the dog, he can see it, and he'll bring it in. Well, we put the decoys out, and some bluebills came in. We knocked a couple of them down, and one of them set sail and dropped about 200 yards out. And Dick said, well, I'll take the boat and go get him. Well, he started rowing out. He got about 100 yards out there, and the dog decided he wanted to go with him, and he started to swim, and he's too old to swim that far. He's 13 years old. He's too old to swim that far, but he got away from me, and he picked up a string of decoys going out. He was towing them, and then he realized it was too much for him, and he turned around, and he picked up another string coming back, and I thought I was going to have to wait out to rescue him, but he made the shore, and he shook the decoys off. Meantime, Dick had to run the duck down and shoot it. Well, I got to be doing something. The wind had blown some of the brush from around this blind, and I had my hunting knife, and I was cutting brush. Dick rode back, and he had hip boots on, and he got 10, 15 feet from shore. He stepped out and was untangling the decoys that the dog had shook off. Well, we had an offshore wind, and before either one of us knew it, the boat's 30 yards out. And this Dick DuBois, he's a very taciturn fellow. He doesn't have much to say, and he wouldn't think of saying anything without smiling first. Real soft-spoken guy. Well, Dick stood there looking at that boat, see, and there's nothing we could do about it. And I said, and of course, anytime you're out of the blind, the ducks are just going right and left. And I said, oh, Dick, the hell with the boat. The wind will blow across the lake, and we can go get it. Let's get in the blind here and get some of this shooting. We never said a word. He came over. We sat in that blind for 20 or 30 minutes. And finally, he looked over to me, and the silliest look in his face, in a very low voice, he said, my gun's in the boat. Oh, Dick DuBois, yeah. He's a dandy. You like that machine, huh? I got one just like it.
That belongs to the company I work for.
They're great rig.
They use them for reporters, use them and stuff like that
Yeah.
for interviews and that.
Yeah.
So they're small and portable.
You do a beautiful job.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, if we're going
You must be a Baptist. Some other ones are just joking. And he said, yeah, you must be an Episcopalian.
Oh, what?
I said, you guys don't have any vices. He said, we just changed women now, so you're straight. Farmer was plowing out the field, the Baptist farmer, and the little boy ran out and said, Daddy, the minister's in the house. Well, Daddy stopped it.
How many sausages?
Lean on the handles. He said, well, what minister? I don't know. Well, he said, you go in the house to find out.
Not supposed to eat them either.
If he's a Catholic, you hide the money. If he's a Episcopalian, you hide the whiskey. And if he's a Baptist, you sit in your mommy's lap.
Gotta get a suntan this morning.
Man, 2 eggs.
Oh, that's a fine spot.
Yeah, I guess so.
Fine spot.
2 eggs and a cake, huh? Good. Here we got sausage too. Wow.
You know, this is deluxe. But the finest.
Should keep body and soul together anyway, I guess.
Yes. Bill, I'd sit there with you, but these guys got all the stuff over there.
Don't blame me a bit.
You know what good stuff is.
And they were through the year, and just getting their gear ready to catch fish and crap. And they've been out digging butter clams just for their own use. And we had a bottle of whiskey. We made a trade. We got about 3 gallons of butter clam, all clean. Yeah, they had a whole bunch of these big pans. They just was going to put them in the freezer so they could keep them. Yeah, a whole batch of them. My God, we ate those clams every way possible. There every Sunday.
Oh, I'll bet they would.
Then we dug razor clams. And they're good. Geez, you can sure live up in that country. And king crabs.
King crab, that's what I was gonna say. Big
When
crab
you're in
right
Africa, Fred, how do they keep that? When you go on when you went on safari, like your meals. What is it? All canned stuff?
Oh no, no. They really do a hell of a job. My God, the first one I went to in Africa in 1955, French Equatorial Africa, we had a French outfitter. We'd go hunting. We had a couple of hunting cars. They were Dodge weapon carriers that we converted. We could sit 4 or 5 people in the front seat of them. Well, we'd wind up at a certain place at noon. When we got there, there'd be another truck there. They set up big card tables. They'd set them up. Big long table. Fresh linen. Beautiful silverware. And get a 4 or 5 course dinner right out there in the bushes. Oh, God. Yeah. And then back in camp, of course, it was really, well, they got all that help, they don't pay me anything.
What do they do for refrigeration?
We had refrigeration in the camp,
Ice or?
kerosene in the refrigerator.
Oh.
Hell, you got good rights.
Like you have a generator.
But I went, few years ago, I went down to South America on an Asiatic buffalo hunt. We had no refrigeration and no meat. We ate parrots. You ever eat a parrot?
We eat lots of dirty things when they're prepared.
We ate everything that flew or walked.
Anything moved, you shot it, huh?
Yes,
And ate
any
it.
kind of a bird. Wasn't any question about whether it was edible, but it had feathers on it. We ate monkeys and alligator. Yeah,
How's alligator?
real good.
Is that right?
Yes, it's got a kind of a crab-like taste. Good firm meat. That's the best meat we have done.
Is that right?
How is a monkey?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask how it's a monkey.
I'm not recommending it.
Unless you're really hungry,
We hired a cowboy. That's ran the cattle country. We hired a cowboy to be the guide. And his wife did the cooking. We ate some chickens. You take and pull the feathers off a chicken, and with the machete, everybody's got a machete. Christ can't walk without a machete. And she just, instead of just joining the chicken, like we do, she just chops it with the goddamn machete, and you get sharp bones up in the gut. And the only way she ever cooked anything was to boil it. Yeah. Boiled parrots, that's really delicate.
That sounds good. Really turns you on.
Fred, I've got about 3 more bites here.
Munger was our food provider. He'd get up daylight morning, and there was a tree just a couple hundred yards from camp. It was a dead tree, and it was full of holes, and parrots used to just flock on there like bees swarm. He got 12, 14 one shot one morning.
That's a whole week's camp meeting.
Oh, we
What
had
was
lots
he
of that
shooting?
kind of meat. He'd get any time, but it wasn't good.
Scattered
After that guy, and those parrots get pretty old, you know. They live 40, 50 years. Sure, you chew on a breast for about 5 minutes, get all the juice out of it, and then you sort of regurgitate it.
Back to boil up on again. Spit it out, huh?
I don't think so, Denny.
No, I'm sorry, Denny, but I got that cleaned up.
That, on that lion hunt you're talking about, Fred, you said you got that bison, was it?
Some bread
Yeah.
and jam or something?
Did you ever?
No.
I couldn't quite remember. Did you say that other lion, when you thought that other lion was at it? Was he actually at it, or did you end up?
Oh, yeah, he ate half of it.
That's what he was doing,
Yeah.
Tell Eddie, I was telling him about your story. I was in the line.
Remember that picture of that line he had
Yeah.
there?
Tell Ed that story. You really enjoy that.
Oh, yeah, well, we, this was in Mozambique in Africa. Went down there to make a film of shooting a buffalo, the bow and arrow. It took us 13 days just to get the key shot of the arrow going in the buffalo. There were lots of buffaloes, and they had lots of chances, but this was the only chance we got where the cameras could be replaced. Well, anyhow, we finally got that finished. And then I wanted to shoot a lion, and we weren't in very good lion country, but so we packed up and drove about 50 miles, just a trail road. Came to a village, and we picked up the chief of the village, a man named Paula, who was the expert on lions. He knew where they were in this area. So we shot a couple of wildebeest and chained them to a tree just 20 yards from a thicket. It was pretty open country, but just 20 yards from a thicket that was about, I don't know, 30 feet in diameter or 20 or something like that. That was gonna be our blind. So the darkies went in there with machetes and axes and started to chop it out. one of them let out a shriek, and I went in there, and there's a 12.5-foot python curled up. So I shot him through the head with a brunt. And, we're going to stay all night, get the evening and morning hunt. And, well, we didn't want this python, in bed with us, so hung him over a limb of a tree about 20 yards out. Well, okay, we got all settled. We had the car, Toyota hunting car, as part of our barricade, part of our blind. The front of it was faced towards the gate, and then brush would be trimmed out of it all around. And just at dark, we were sitting in there and not saying anything, just at dark, there was the bones crunching. There was 2 male lions on the bait. We never heard of it. Well, one of them was lying broadside to me, the other one was head on. And they knew that we were there. We found them the next morning. They'd walked right by our blind. Yeah. And they saw me get up to shoot, and I shot an arrow. It was almost dark, and I was pretty sure it was just behind the front shoulder, but I didn't know how high or low. And that line started towards us. But the other one struck right straight off to our left, and I guess that changed the one that was his mind, and he followed him. Well, finally it's total dark, and we're sitting in there, we can't go out poking around in the dark, because
No.
you can take liberties with lions in the daytime, but at night they're practically fearless. Yeah. And we're going to stay there all night anyhow, so we just kind of settled down best we could. We had some food, a blanket to cover us. Got cool, got down to about 50 minutes over there. And, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes or maybe half hour went by, and the goddamn just roar right out, just outside the blind. Shook the leaves in the garden, and shook all the rest of us. Well, that was something. We got a lion out there. Is it the wounded lion, or what is it? And what does he want besides us? So, everybody's afraid to move, practically afraid to breathe, because it's total dark by this time, and he could have easily jumped over a barricade. We had a couple of rifles. We had 2 375s. But we'd have probably shot each other in confusion, Well, we had a problem, and he kept roaring every few minutes. Just a hell of a roar. God. Well, so close to us, And, I don't know, this was around, got dark around 6:30. About 9 o'clock, the Louise, one of the natives, who was Wally Johnson's tracker, been with him for 20 years or so. He sort of crept over to where Wally was sitting leaning against the side of the car, and I had my back to a tree, and we were facing each other. And I had a 375, and he had one. We were sort of backing each other up, so to speak. And the natives, when they built the blind, they didn't care much for this bow and arrow business. They had trimmed a tree back in their corner for that climbing. Got the thorns off a little more than that. Louise kind of crept over to Wally, and I excuse me. I couldn't understand his language, but Wally whispered over to me. He said, "Louise says he can hear the lion tearing flesh out there, and he thinks he's eating your lion." Well, that didn't make sense to me, because I knew that I was pretty sure the lion was going further than that. But then it occurred to me that he might be eating a snake, and that's the way it really turned out. And things all over. But anyhow, this kept up. Well, then somebody suggested that Wally fire his gun out that way and then he's cheating off, you know. Geez, the flame shot out, he had an elephant down to 375. The flame shot out about 10 or 15 feet. We got a roar for an answer. That didn't discourage me. Yeah, it got to be about midnight. And finally I said to Wally, you know, we got a car right there. It was covered with brush and a lot of thorn brush. You suppose we could maybe quietly and by slow motion sneak into that and roar out of here? He said that's a pretty good idea. He was getting cut. Matter of fact, we were all getting cut up because, you know, I've been in some tight spots, but they're over in a few seconds. This is going on all night.
Pressure was building up.
Pressure is building up, yeah. So we all agreed. We had a little idea with Louise and with Paula. Okay, this is the best thing to do. So we got in the car and we had a head count. Everybody was in there, and Wally turned the switch on and took off. He turned the lights on. We roared out of there, blur flying all over. And we got out there about 100 yards, and then he made a sweep with his lights. It was pretty open, just grass, a few bushes. See if we're being followed, and we weren't. And then we got lost. Natives can take you anywhere in the daytime. Just anywhere. You don't know how they do it because the country all looks alike, but at night they don't know where the hell they are. And when they get to arguing among themselves, then you know that they're lost.
They were arguing.
They were arguing. They're in the dark. So we we went this way, then we went that way, and then we went the other way, and finally everybody got very confused. But I knew that we were east of a trail road that we had to hit, and south of Canton, and I had a compass. I had the compass on my string glove. So I got the compass out, and I said, "Well, we got to go that way." Well, he didn't think that we did, but he dug into a toolbox he had, all kinds of rusty tools and everything in there, and he came up with a compass that he had. And thank God it agreed with mine. So that's where we went, and we were about, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 miles east of this road. We finally came out on the road, and Wally turned the wrong way. Hell, he turned to the left. And we needed to go north. And I said, Wally, damn it, you're going the wrong way. And the natives were no help. They didn't even know which way to turn after they hit the road. But anyhow, we finally got into camp by 2 o'clock, and we got up the next morning and got out there, and we found that the line had eaten about half my snake, and we found my line about 200 yards right out in the direction of the kids.
Yeah, and another line had come in and did all that, come over with the other one that...
It was his mate, we figured. They're both male.
Mhm.
They're both almost white. Yeah. We figured it was the other one, but we didn't shoot.
That would take me a fellow up all it started roaring right around 20 feet or 20 yards from me.
And how? Yeah.
What'd you say they weighed, Fred? Live weight?
The one that I got weighed 490 pounds.
Is that, how is that?
Got some more.
Yeah, how is that for a weight of a lion? Is that a good weight or is it
It's a nice sized lion. Lions do get, a real big lion might go 600 pounds. And that's
Is
a
that
lot of
right,
cat.
eh? Yeah, that's a lot of cat.
Well, Fred, is the tigers worse than the lions?
Well, nobody knows that. They live in different countries, but I think a tiger would lick a lion of the same weight.
Yeah. But I mean, for being
There is a
ferocious.
For being ferocious.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. really.
I seen them down at that Allen Wildlife Game Farm there in Edmonton. Sons of bitches, they're just big enough to eat you.
You're talking about a tiger?
Yeah,
Yes. They get real big.
geez,
They
they
get
look
bigger.
bigger than a lion.
They get bigger in line, I think. Yeah.
They do, eh?
Yeah, I believe so. No, I don't.
Jeez, they're big looking animals.
They do.
Panther, you ever have any good panthers before?
No, I never hunted.
The hair dryer?
Yeah, they must be awful hard to.
Oh, I better get my
Well,
hand
the
on
only way to hunt them is shoot them with
Yeah,
dogs.
big pigeon.
Hit 'em up the tree, and what the hell difference does it make when you shoot 'em?
I have.
Yes,
Bring it, please.
Friction or electric or whatever.
Whatever. Not friction if possible.
Well, boys,
Siesta time.
we're not shooting bears, and we can't shoot a bear, we have a nap.
That's
sorry
guaranteed
for
to do the job.
They get hit and you don't chase them, eh? You know, they get, oh, geez, am I ever hurt? And you lay down and then they're done.
Listen, you can pound them with a big rifle in the shoulder. Pound the hell out of them.
Yeah, pound,
They'll
yeah.
keep going.
They'll keep going.
But you shoot a little 22 Magnum or a 6mm through their ribs, and they've had it.
I know lots of Indians say that's the way they hunt them with the goddamn 22. And they
Yeah.
plug one bloody bullet in and then go home and have tea for a couple hours.
They come
Maybe a
back.
jump or two if the old lady's willing and go out and pick them up.
I shot a moose in Canada, up in British Columbia, when we were grizzly hunting. We needed some meat. The moose came running. My partner was on the other side of the creek, and we were walking down it, and he kicked it out of us and came running by me in real high bracken. And I didn't leave it enough, and I gut shot it. The arrow went through, and just a feather through the hole about the other side. He trotted for about 60 yards and then walked for another 50 and stood there. He stood there and made a couple steps and stopped. Well, yeah, I knew it was a gut shot, pure and simple. And I watched him for about a half hour. He just stood there. And I sneaked up. I was about a mile off the road, and that was about a mile into the cabin at lunchtime. I was supposed to meet my partner down on that road. I sneaked out around and went down, and we spent about 2 hours. Came back with the pack horse. That moose was standing in exactly the same spot, and he let me walk up within about 40 yards of him in dry leaves and shoot an arrow. He still had the arrow sticking out. He hadn't moved at all. Just hanging both of them.
He knew he was sick and there was nobody way he was going to go.
But they don't have the will to live. They just don't.
No, but okay, like you say, in that case, but on the other hand, you said yourself that you could pump a bunch of goddamn
I know, it's
.308
gonna go for
bullets into
10
the basket
miles.
and it'll keep
Well,
going
not
and
10
keep
miles.
going.
I can't figure it out, but I don't know. You hadn't alarmed them when you shot, you know. You got a pain in the gut.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, this is it, I guess, a lot of, to any animal. If he's alert and all tensed up to start with, they go a hell of a lot farther than they do if they don't know anybody, any danger is around.
So how come those bears keep going for miles and miles?
I don't know. You shoot them in the ass, and that's love to have them.
Well, we trying to get in about 6. We're not too far from them. Well, I better go do it.
Two of the boys were with Jerry went to talk. Oh, you met him, eh?
Oh, did you?
Good. You did. You see that tired little boys from Swiftburn? They drove.
They drove at least 5 miles on that
Oh,
flat tire. Tore that thing all to shreds.
There's nothing left of it.
Made 2 pieces out of it, a donut and a rim.
Yeah, but there wasn't anything up the rim either, was there, about that?
Oh yeah, there was.
Huh?
It's all sand, eh?
Yeah, it hadn't broken its feet on either side.
That's right, yeah.
Just the middle is
Just like
gone.
somebody went with a razor blade, cut it right out. You know?
Well, didn't have a spare, is it?
Ray and I went down the road trying to figure out what the hell that was.
Didn't even notice.
We stopped 2 or 3 times trying to figure
You
out.
want to check any licenses or anything?
No, I can't prove anything anyway.
No, but you want to show it on paper?
No, it's okay.
Everybody's fixed up 100% anyways.
Yeah, I know that.
We'll keep her that way too. Just hope we fix a couple of bears up 100.
Like to fix up a guy, yeah.
Anybody getting the bears?
Not very many.
Is there many hunters in?
No, there aren't that many. No.
We're the only stupid ones around here.
I don't know, most of the guys I talk to have just been seeing sows, sows and cubs.
Yeah.
I haven't
Boys,
seen
I
it.
don't know how the boys have to do
We've
it.
been seeing a lot of them too.
Well, that's a good question. Where are the boys?
No, they're around.
There's some nice
There's some
ones.
big beggars in here. You know, there's some.
I know, but where aren't they flying the breed, or aren't they hungry, or?
Yeah, you'd think they would be. They're late feeders. All of them. Later than the sows by a long ways.
Yeah, but I think if there's a sow and cubs in there, that she's gonna keep most boys away.
Yeah, that's the trouble.
Yeah, I found that out. Remember?
Yeah, but that little 150-pound sow that Dennis was screwing around with, she couldn't keep a very big boar out of it.
No.
No.
I don't know, I've seen some 50, 90-pound women that keep that big.
But bears
Keep you what? I didn't catch that out
Keep
of
you at bay.
I'm a little hard of hearing. Let's just be sure what you said.
Yeah, but bears don't talk, you
No, is that right? Oh, well,
know. Or don't.
they get the idea.
You run into the odd one that lets you know what they're thinking.
Well, it's nice meeting you,
Nice
Doc.
meeting you, Doc.
Yeah.
We'll see you later.
See
See you. Okay, thank you.
Stop in later on in the week and we'll have a hider do hanging up there.
Yeah, I might be in on Saturday, so.
Yeah. Right.
The boys will be gone on Saturday.
Oh, they will, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Put some of those goddamn There.
You need a special arrow rest.
Told you. What are you trying to use?
I tried to use those
Veins.
veins.
Oh.
Veins.
These
Oh,
are
I
not
see.
quite as
We got an arrow
quite as
rest?
stiff as
No,
these.
What are you shooting off of?
Arrow rest.
Well, right off the right off the
Yeah, well, you
top.
can't. I found that out.
What the hell do you put on there?
Your hap's gonna get you one.
You can't shoot them off one of those like I
Off a
have?
shelf, no.
Oh,
Well, I've tried, and there's just no way you can get them to go off the shelf. Whisper
Well, that
rest,
arrow rest you got on those bows, that'll shoot them.
yeah.
And
Doug,
you
I gotta show you the, where are
sure,
those?
I hung them up. I'll get them.
I gotta show you.
You praying there,
I'm
Adam?
gonna fix this stupid thing that keeps cutting out.
You're gonna electrify yourself there. You keep putting your screwdriver in.
Yeah, we use a screwdriver
Gonna
just
get-
jackknife.
charged by a bear or electricity.
Here's one of them guns. Have block and tackles at the shoot.
That's the kind of an arrow rest he's gonna give you.
Just draw that back, Doug, it's tuned in. Show them how you set them up.
Can't shoot those veins off the shelf.
There's 35
It's
pounds.
35 pounds. You can shoot a target.
Oh, I see. Okay. Pull it.
Just draw one.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, he's left-handed.
Well, that's all right. Doesn't matter. Whoops, got a couple of birds.
You got a long one.
What do you got? You got 40, 30, so that's 40 inch down.
Small,
Look at it.
three rolls,
small deer weight. Where was this one from a small deer weight?
That
No,
sets
that's
it up
60
to
pounds. But you can just change this thing by loose.
Oh, yeah.
50, 55.
60. No, it's 60,
But you're only holding 30.
What are you sweating for?
It comes a little quick, doesn't it? That heavy pull.
The deer forward too.
Let it go.
Here's the difference, here's what's set up to 55. That's the hell of a difference.
Yeah, but he's left-handed, he
Don't you
can't
keep
pull
yours
that
that strong?
I don't let it go.
Oh, single quick.
Then you can drop it back to 50. Oh, that's a
He's
little.
always taking pictures
try one
of
of
me
these
when I'm
on there.
smoking cigarettes. I'm a
Put
Boy
the
Scout.
regular too. That whole zero on, it won't fall off.
There we go, boys. No more blinking lights.
What was the matter? Loose wire?
See, I was trying to figure out how I
Back
could
to
put
the
it
Nikon,
huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
those ones work well.
The only thing
Take it out with me tonight.
might have to
Couple
do
more
is
shots
see how
in a row,
I've got
and
that
we'll
built out.
change them for a while.
Okay, you're just taking a double clean.
It's so much easier to use.
That's the only reason he takes a picture of me when he wants to.
Waste the film up, eh?
Tail
Some
end.
people don't
I'll bet.
That's what he said.
Yeah, in case those
That
things
old
wear
bastard
off
I've
and you
got.
guys both.
Huh?
In case those wear off sometime.
Oh,
I'll give you
thanks.
another one, then you'll have plenty to last you for a couple of years.
Good.
There's one somebody's pierced their finger with and bled all over it.
Up that in your face, and then if that ever wears off.
You notice we didn't tell that game warden about all the bears around that we were shooting.
I got a kick out though. He gave you a warning when he comes back. It was nice of them.
Yeah? No, I told him we won't be here, so he's not coming at all.
Probably
Actually,
come in about Thursday.
he just moved into Nipwin here last fall. He's a tall kid though, that.
She's got a cute wife too. He had him in her in the car the other day.
Right.
Shoot, it's almost time to go kill a bear.
Just about.
Getting around there. Yeah. She's
around.
45 after 5 and we want to be in the seats before 6:30.
Oh, there's no big rush.
Yes, there is.
They never come in until about 8 anyways.
There is.
So great. I figured that last night.
Doug's gonna go show you, he's gonna show you your his old bull. Old bear bull.
Yeah. Okay. I like.
His old one, shit, that's his new one. He's been using it for 20 years.
Huh?
This
What do you
ought
got
to
there, Doug?
shock you a little bit.